Why are you charging us rent? My sister laughed. This is the family beach house. I'd inherited it. They'd been vacationing there every summer, for free. I said calmly, because I pay the taxes. $31,000 a year. Dad scoffed. So what? We're family. I nodded. The next day, I listed it on Airbnb. $850 per night. It booked in 4 hours. When my sister showed up with her bags in July, why are you charging us rent? My sister actually laughed when she said it, loud enough that the seagulls lifted off the railing. This is the family beach house, Dean. Her kids were already sprinting up the ramp with their boogie boards. My son, Max, stood beside me on the gravel drive, clutching his little rolling suitcase with the faded airplane stickers. He looked between me and my sister like he'd walked into the middle of a movie he didn't understand. Dad snorted. Yeah, we're family. We don't pay rent here. I still had the property tax bill open on my phone. $31,284 due this year. My name on the top. My grandmother's name crossed out. Because I pay the taxes, I said. My voice came out quieter than I meant, so I said it again. I pay the taxes. $31,000 a year. Dad waved a hand. So what? You've got pilot money. Meanwhile, your sister's raising 3 kids on one income. You really want a nickel and dime family over a beach week. There it was. In one sentence. Everything they thought I was and everything they thought I owed. My sister grinned and called over her shoulder. You hear that, guys? Your uncle wants to charge us rent to come to Grandma's beach house. Uncle Dean's greedy. One of her boys sing-songed as he ran past Max. They all laughed. Max didn't. He pressed closer to my side, his fingers finding the inside seam of my shorts pocket like he used to do when he was little and nervous. He stared at the ground, at his sneakers half buried in sand, ears turning red. I felt my hand start to shake around my phone. I wanted to say a lot of things. Like, it's not Grandma's beach house anymore, it's mine. Or, I was the one here when the roof leaked and the insurance lapsed and the pipes burst in February. Or, pilot money doesn't come from magic. It comes from leaving my kid for 4-day trips so you can drink wine on my deck. Instead, I swallowed, nodded once, and said nothing. I watched my son absorb that moment and file it away in whatever quiet place he puts things that hurt. I'm Dean, 39, commercial pilot based out of Charlotte. I fly domestic mostly, red eyes to the West Coast, early mornings to Chicago, the occasional Florida run. I'm married to Mia, who teaches 4th grade, and we have one son, Max. He's 8, soft-spoken, reads chapter books that are way too advanced for him, loves tide pools, builds tiny airports out of Legos. We live in a very normal townhouse 2 hours inland. The beach house is not normal. It sits on a skinny strip of Barrier Island in South Carolina, the kind of place realtors call charming and rate websites call up-and-coming. My grandparents bought it when it was just a weather-beaten shack with green shutters and a sagging dock. Over the years, they added on another bedroom, a second bathroom, a covered porch. It's not a mansion, but it's oceanfront. For bedrooms, wraparound deck, private walk to the sand. It was the backdrop of my entire childhood. When my grandmother died 4 years ago, everyone assumed she'd keep it fair. That's what my dad always said. She'll leave it to all of us, he'd shrug. Family place stays in the family. Except the will didn't say that. It said, in very plain language, that the house went to me. Only me. Grandma had left letters for everyone. Mine was one paragraph, written in shaky blue ink. You were the only one who came when the heat stopped working. You never asked for gas money. You never complained when I called. You'll take care of it. Or you'll let it go. Either way, I trust you. I cried over that letter in the front seat of my car for a solid 10 minutes. No one else cried. They were too busy being angry. My sister, Laura, called me the next day. It should have been split, she said. Equally. That's what she said she wanted. I reminded her grandma had also said, repeatedly, I don't want you renting it out all summer. And she also said she didn't want to be in a nursing home, Laura snapped. Look how that turned out. My parents were more subtle, at first. Little comments. Your grandmother would have wanted everyone to enjoy it. It's a family asset. We'll help you out with the taxes. They never did. Every year since, that beach house has cost me more than it's ever given back. The taxes, the flood insurance, wind insurance, every new special assessment the county dreamed up. When the roof finally failed, that was $18,000. The AC died the next summer. Another $7,500. The dock needed new pilings. The stairs to the beach had to be replaced after a storm. You know who was there the day the contractor pointed at the rotted wood and said, "Yeah, you're not safe on that." Me. Alone. On a day between trips, when I should have been at home with my kid. Laura was too busy wrangling the kids. My parents were keeping an eye on things from their condo 3 hours inland, which meant they watched the Weather Channel and called to tell me about storms I'd already flown over. Still, every June, they circled the calendar like sharks. Laura's family took the week of July 4th. My parents liked late August. Sometimes my brother, who lives out west, flew in for a long weekend. Cousins borrowed it just for a couple nights. Distant relatives I barely knew somehow ended up with the keys. They called it the family beach house. What they meant was, Dean's beach house that he pays for and we use. I was the one who paid the water and power every month, even when no one was there. I was the one who sent the check when the HOA decided the dunes needed emergency restoration. I was the one who spent my days off calling plumbers and cleaners instead of building sand castles with my kid. And still, somehow, Max was always the afterthought. When we came down with them, he didn't get a bedroom. Laura's kids each had their own. They're older, they need space. My parents took the primary. Max got the pull-out couch in the living room, or, if we were lucky, the little twin bed in the utility room that smelled like detergent and old paint. His drawings of the house stayed taped to the fridge until the next round of guests decided the surface was better used for grocery lists. His collection of shells got dumped into a decorative bowl for someone's Instagram shot. His name never made it into the framed family rules chalkboard Laura hung in the hall. She wrote out everyone's names in pastel chalk. Grandma, Grandpa, Laura, James, Ethan, Kyle, Lily. No Max. No Dean. When I pointed it out, she laughed. "Oh, don't be weird. It's just a sign." I kept telling myself it was fine. It was temporary. Max was little. He wouldn't notice. I was wrong. The rent conversation happened in May. We'd driven down for the weekend to open the place up, get the AC going, bleach the mildew off the deck furniture, air out the mattresses. My parents and Laura decided to help, which, in their language, meant sit on the porch and supervise while I moved things. I just taped the new tax bill to the fridge so I wouldn't forget to schedule the payment when Laura spotted it. 31 grand. She whistled. Damn. Pilot money really can do anything. Max was sitting at the table quietly building a runway out of Jenga blocks. "It doesn't do it by itself," I said. "I'm gone 12 to 15 nights a month." Dad sniffed. "You chose that. You like flying. You were always selfish with your time." There was that word again. Selfish. I hadn't planned to say anything. I really hadn't. But standing there, sweaty and tired, looking at my dad's beer sweating on the table I bought and the tax bill with my name on it, and my son drooping with jet lag because he'd insisted on coming down with me. It all just clicked. "I can't keep doing this for free," I said. The conversation stopped. Even the little portable speaker Laura had brought seemed to go quiet. "What?" she said. "I can't keep paying for everything while everyone uses it like it's a free resort. I need help this year." I kept my tone even. "If you want a whole week in July, it's going to be $1,500. That barely dents the taxes, but it's something." Laura barked out a laugh. "You're serious?" "Yes." "Why are you charging us rent?" she demanded, louder, already performing. "This is the family beach house." Dad leaned back. "You ungrateful or something. Your grandmother left you this place, and now you want to squeeze your own family." I opened my mouth, closed it again. On the other side of the table, Max's hands had gone still on his pretend runway. "We paid for flights last summer," Laura added, like she was presenting evidence in court. "Those tickets weren't cheap." I stared at her. "You used my buddy passes," I said. "You flew 4 people round trip for $68 each. You Venmo'd me for the airport parking." She rolled her eyes. "Same thing." Max very quietly slid one of his Jenga planes off the table and onto his lap. He was doing that thing where he pretended to be invisible. I caught his eye. He looked away fast. I felt something in my chest twist. "Look," I said, "I'm not asking you to cover everything. I'm just done being the only one who pays." "You're doing fine," Dad snapped. "You just bought a new car. The old one had 210,000 miles on it. Some of us don't get to upgrade every time we feel like it," he shot back. "Mia would tell you I'm usually calm. Flying does that to you. You can't afford to be reactive at 35,000 feet when you hit turbulence." But in that moment, with my father calling me ungrateful in a house that only exists because I kept writing checks, with my sister laughing like I was telling a joke, with my son sitting there absorbing the idea that his dad was greedy, I felt the anger shake through my hands. I still didn't yell. I just nodded once, the way I sometimes nod at ATC when they tell me about a hold I don't like, but have to accept. Okay, I said. Laura smirked like she'd won. Max's Jenga block slid off his lap and hit the floor with a tiny clatter. That night, back at the townhouse, I tucked him into bed. Are we poor? He asked suddenly. I blinked. What? No, bud. Why would you think that? Because Aunt Laura said you need money from them now, he said. She said it in the car when Grandma was on the phone. She said, I guess Pilot Dean isn't as rich as he wants us to think. My throat got tight. We're not poor, I said, but I've been paying for a lot of things for a long time. And it's not fair that other people get to enjoy them and make fun of us at the same time. His eyes were shiny in the dim light. Is it my fault? 'Cause I broke the screen door last summer. Oh, there it was. The thing he'd been carrying that whole time. I sat down on the edge of his bed. Hey, I said, none of this is your fault. Not the door. Not the money. Not anything. Do you understand that? He nodded, but you know how kids nod just to end the conversation. Like, sure, Dad, if that's what helps you sleep. After he drifted off, I sat at the kitchen table with the tax bill and my laptop as the dishwasher hummed and Mia graded spelling tests. Do you really want to charge them? She asked gently. You know how your dad gets. I asked for $1,500, I said. They laughed at me. In front of him. I jerked my chin toward Max's room. They told him I'm greedy. She sighed. So what now? Now, apparently, was the line. The next morning, I listed the beach house on Airbnb. It felt weirdly simple. I already had photos from the last time we repainted. I wrote out the description like I wasn't emotionally attached to the place at all. 4-bedroom, oceanfront cottage. Sleeps 10. Private beach access. Pilot-owned, lovingly maintained. I set the nightly rate at $850 for summer weeks. It wasn't the highest in the neighborhood, but it wasn't charity either. I blocked off 1 week in June and 1 in September for us. Just us. No grandparents. No cousins. Just my tiny little nuclear family. Then I clicked Publish. A confirmation screen popped up. Your listing is live. 4 hours later, my phone buzzed. New booking request, 7 nights, July 3rd to 10th. Payout estimate, $5,698. I stared at the numbers for a long time. That was more than my parents had ever offered to help with anything. That was Max's entire after-school program for the year. That was almost a semester of tuition at the aviation camp he'd been begging to go to one day. I accepted the booking. Then I opened the family group chat and typed one message. Me. Just a heads up, I've listed the house on Airbnb for the summer to help cover costs. If you want to stay, you'll need to book through the site like everyone else. I blocked off a week in June and September for me, Mia, and Max. Those are the only free weeks. I watched the typing bubble appear and disappear. Laura went first. Laura, you're joking. Mom, Dean, Dad, are you out of your mind? I put the phone face down and went to make Max a grilled cheese. We ate on the couch watching some cartoon about talking cars. My phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't pick it up until Max was in the bath. Laura, we've been vacationing there every year for free since before you were even paying the taxes. This is so messed up. Mom, your grandmother wanted that house to be for family memories, not strangers. Dad, take that listing down. We already told the kids about 4th of July. Laura, yeah, I already requested time off, booked James' vacation, bought swimsuits. You owe us some notice, at least. I typed, erased, retyped. Then I sent this. Me, I'm not your backup bank. I can't keep paying $31,000 a year so everyone else can have a free beach house while my kid gets called greedy by association. The house is mine. The decision is mine. I'm done arguing. That was it. No threats. No ultimatums. I muted the thread. They showed up anyway. Of course they did. It was July 3rd, turnover day. Mia stayed home because she had a mountain of lesson plans to prep. It was just me and Max in the truck, heading down with fresh linens, a new grill brush, and a trunk full of bulk-bought toilet paper and paper towels for the guests. Do we get to stay this time? Max asked from the back. Not this week, I said. The Johnsons are staying. Remember? The family with the little girl who likes space books? But we'll be here in September. Just us. He nodded, tracing the airplane stitched into his backpack strap. I saw the minivan before I even turned onto our street. Laura's van. Silver, dented, crammed with beach chairs strapped to the roof. My parents' sedan was right behind it. They were parked in front of the house like they owned the place. I felt my chest tighten. The Johnsons' rental car was in the driveway. All the blinds were open. I could see their kids running around inside, hyped up on sugar and ocean air, unaware of the incoming hurricane in human form. "Hey, bud," I said. "When we get there, I need you to stick close to me, okay?" He frowned. "Why?" "Because I said so." It wasn't my best parenting moment. We pulled in behind my parents' car. Laura was already out of the van, hands on her hips, sunglasses pushed up on her head like a tiara. "What, Dean?" she yelled before I even killed the engine. Max flinched. I climbed out slowly. "Hi, Laura." "Mom." "Dad." Mom's face was pinched. Dad was red already, like he'd been pre-mad the entire drive. "There are strangers in our house," Mom hissed, like I'd broken in and invited them without permission. "They're not strangers," I said evenly. "They're guests. They booked through Airbnb. I told you this." "You were bluffing," Laura snapped. "You always bluff." Behind her, one of her boys jumped out of the van. "Where's my room?" he shouted. "I call the bunk bed upstairs." "You don't have a room," Max said quietly beside me. "There's guests here." Laura spun on him. "See what you've done?" she demanded at me, but her eyes were on my son. "Now my kids don't get their vacation because your dad wants to play landlord." Something inside me snapped so fast, I actually heard the blood rush in my ears. "Don't talk to him like that," I said. Dad stepped forward. "Stop being dramatic. Just tell these people there was a mix-up. They can go to a hotel. We're family." The front door opened then. Mr. Johnson stepped out, looking confused and apologetic at the same time. He had on one of those sun hats that screams, "Tourist." "Is everything okay?" he asked. His little girl peeked out from behind him, clutching a stuffed astronaut. I forced a smile. "Hey there, Mr. Johnson. Everything's fine. You're good to stay, don't worry. This is just some family confusion." Laura shot past me like she was going to march straight into the house. I stepped in front of her. "Move," she hissed. "No," I said. Dad barked a humorless laugh. "You're really going to turn your own family away from their own house?" He gestured at the porch. "We've spent every summer here since before you even had a kid. Long before you started making airline money and acting like you're better than us." From the driveway, Laura's oldest, Ethan, shouted toward Max. "Nice going, dude. Because of your dad, we don't get the big room this year." Max looked like someone had punched him. I can share," he stammered. "You can have my bunk next time." "I don't need." "You won't get a next time if your dad keeps this up," Laura cut in. Mr. Johnson cleared his throat. "Should we come back? We can go grab lunch in." "You're fine," I said again, louder this time. "You're staying." "I'm sorry about the noise." Laura stared at me like she didn't recognize me. "You're choosing them over us?" she demanded. "I'm choosing my son," I said. Her eyes flicked to Max, then back to me. She didn't get it. She never would. "This is insane," Mom said, choked. "Family doesn't charge family rent. Your grandmother would be." "My grandmother," I said carefully, "left this house to me. If you want to know why, you can ask her. But you can't, because you left early every time she needed anything and said you were too tired to drive down." I didn't. I showed up, and I have been paying for it ever since. Dad's jaw clenched. "You're heartless," he said. "That's what you are. Heartless." Beside me, Max's hand found mine. His palm was damp. I squeezed it. "I am done paying for a family my kid isn't part of," I said quietly. "You don't get to use this place for free while you call me greedy and make him feel like this." I nodded down at Max. His eyes were bright, his face pale. Laura's mouth opened. "Closed. For the last time," I said. "You need to leave. Now." Dad looked like he wanted to punch something. Laura looked like she might cry, but her tears have always been for herself, never anyone else. "Come on," she snapped at her kids. "Apparently your uncle is too good for us now." They piled back into the van, slamming doors, kicking sand. As they pulled away, Ethan rolled down the window and shouted, "Hope your stupid Airbnb people like you better." Max flinched like it was a physical blow. My parents lingered a second longer. "You'll regret this," Mom said flatly. "One day you'll be old and alone, and you'll wish you had family." "I have a family," I said. "He's standing right next to me." Dad muttered something about me thinking I'm some sort of big shot, then got in the car and drove off. The second their taillights disappeared, my shoulders dropped 2 inches. Mr. Johnson shifted awkwardly on the porch. "If this is the bad time," he began. "It's not," I said. "You're fine. Really. I'm so sorry." His little girl peeked around his leg at Max. "Hi," she said. "I'm Kayla. Do you want to see the hermit crabs we found?" Max blinked, caught off guard. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Yeah. Okay." They ran off toward the side yard, voices already lighter. I carried in the linens. The fallout was immediate. My phone blew up as soon as I got back in the truck. "Laura, I can't believe you did that in front of my kids." "Mom, we drove 3 hours for nothing." "Dad, you are dead to me until you fix this." I didn't respond that day. When we got home, I told Mia everything. Max sat at the table, drawing quietly with his tongue between his teeth. "They blamed me," he said suddenly, not looking up. "For the house." "No," I said. "They blamed me. They always have. They're just louder about it now." He put down his pencil. "Are we still going to the beach?" he asked. His voice was small. "In September," I said. "Just us. No one else." He thought about that for a second. "Can I have a real room?" he asked. "God. Yeah, bud," I said. "You can have whatever room you want." They didn't show up at our door in person. They used other people. My brother called from California. "They're saying you kicked them out of their house," he said. "Mom's been crying to everyone." "I asked them to contribute 4 years' worth of taxes," I said. "They never did. I asked them for $1,500 this year." They laughed in my kid's face. "I'm done." He was quiet for a second. "That doesn't sound like crying material," he said finally. "That sounds like consequences." He didn't have the money to help me, either. But at least he wasn't pretending he did. My Aunt Denise texted. "I heard there was drama with the beach house. For what it's worth, I always thought it was messed up that they treated it like theirs. Love you and Max." I screenshotted that and saved it. Not to show anyone. Just to remind myself I wasn't crazy. Mom left a long voicemail about breaking traditions and punishing the whole family over one misunderstanding. Not a single word about what had been said to Max. Not one mention of his name. Laura sent a novel about how I'd humiliated her, how her kids were heartbroken, how they looked forward to the beach all year, how children shouldn't be punished for adult problems. I typed out, "Max is a child too," about 20 times, then deleted it. I stayed quiet. I'd already drawn the line. I didn't need to defend it. September came faster than I expected. The Airbnb payouts hit my account like clockwork all summer, and after taxes and repairs there was finally money left. I opened a $529 college account in Max's name and set an automatic $500 transfer from the beach house income. "Is that for my pilot school?" he asked. "If you want," I said. "Or art school. Or marine biology. It's your future." He nodded, serious. "Can we still go to the house?" "We're going this weekend," I said. "Just us. No group chat. No shared calendar. Just the 3 of us, a trunk of groceries, and a bag of library books." When we pulled up, the house looked the same and different. A cheap Floetai in the bushes, a new scratch on the porch railing, the same Sultan sunscreen air. Inside, Max ran upstairs and froze like he was waiting to be assigned the couch. "Pick a room," I said. "Any room. Any room." He chose the big ocean view room that used to be my parents'. "Can this be mine?" "Yes," I said. "This can be yours." "Will Grandma be mad?" "It's your room," I said. "No one else gets a say." We spent 3 days hunting shells, building sand runways, eating cereal on the deck while the sun went down. On the second night, Max taped a drawing of the beach house above his bed, this time with 3 stick figures on the deck. Me, Mia, him. "I don't want the guests to take it down," he said. "Then we'll do better," I said. We got it framed in town and hung it where Laura's pastel family rules sign used to be. "I like ours better," Max said. "So do I," Mia said. That evening, we sat on the porch as the sky went purple. 2 empty Adirondack chairs stood at the far end, the ones my parents always claimed. They were empty now. For a second, I felt a tug of grief. Not for them, but for the version of family I'd chased where my son was just as wanted and I wasn't just a wallet with a pilot's license. Max climbed into my lap. "Dad, are we still family with them?" "We're related," I said. "But family is the people who make you feel safe, who are glad you're there, who don't make you feel small." "So, like you and Mom?" he asked. "Yeah, me and Mom. Uncle Ben, Aunt Denise, Kayla's parents. They treated you better at the door than some people who share your last name." He nodded. Okay, then I'm okay if we don't see the other ones. Something in my chest unclenched. Behind us, his frame drawing caught the last light, the three little figures on the deck looking like they were waving. I looked at the empty chairs and realized I didn't need to fill them. I wrapped my arms around my kid, feeling his solid weight, the quiet proof I was finally getting at least one thing right.